Thursday night. You know what that means.
Will you look back when you're old and grey and think those dumb kids had a lot to say when we were trying to make this night one you'd remember? I don't care if my wheels don't turn, I don't care if my pipe don't burn, as long as I am flowing through your veins after I'm gone away.
Hello, welcome to Thursday. Hope you've had a wonderful week so far.
You know, you can say the catchphrase. It's Thursday night. You know what that means. I don't get to say that anymore. If I knew you weren't going to say it. Right. We've got guests coming on. We've got Joke of the Week coming up. And I thought it was quite cool that what Knox said about he knows it's Thursday night and what that means. But what I also want to say is I've did a bit of housekeeping from last week because someone reminded me I didn't get all 3 headlines from Roller Coaster Rewind done. So the last one was about Yoda was originally going to be played by a monkey in a mask with a cane. So I've covered that. We might talk about the hatchery later on. Andy from Coaster with the Joneses knows what that's about. But what is it time for? The start of the show.
Joke of the Week.
What's the best thing about Switzerland?
I don't know. What is the best thing about Switzerland?
I don't know, but the flag's a big plus.
That's the first one you've laughed out loud at. But they've actually sent me a few, so in the next few weeks they might come round again. But without further ado, did you want to introduce, I guess,
I just want
today?
to introduce the absolutely wonderful people just now. They've got a podcast at the moment that I'm addicted to at the minute. They are the Scare Seekers.
Do you remember their names?
I will forget now. I'm going to get you muddled up. So we have James.
Yeah.
And then we have Joe. Hello.
Hey, how are you both
Hello
doing?
there. Yeah, well, hello there. We should pretend we haven't seen you before, so nice to see you both.
You're not meant to break the illusion.
Well, I'm all about breaking illusions, trust me. Yeah,
So,
we usually join with Aaron as well, so a big shout out to Aaron. Hope he's
Yeah, good shout
Hi,
out.
Aaron. Aaron as well, if he's rewatching.
Uncle Duck, isn't he referred to as?
yeah, Uncle Duck, the new name.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Shall we quickly? Are we allowed? I don't know the story. What's the story behind the Uncle Duck thing?
I think it's just that Aaron likes ducks, really, and I think specifically the Uncle Duck thing was from one of the gravestones on the Curse at Alton Manor. Says Uncle Duck.
Oh, only
And
kind of
so now,
recently
yeah.
then.
Yeah. What the uncle bit did, but the ducks have been going for years. I have no idea where that came from, but yeah, he likes ducks. So there we go.
Awesome.
So what I'm going to do first, what I usually do when we have people on, I've got, it's about a minute long. I've just got highlight from some YouTube stuff so people can get a bit of a taste if they've not seen you before. I just want to say the link's in the description because you've never actually filmed yourselves on your YouTube channel. So I had to get some footage of you to splice in from Coaster Gen's YouTube. So I'll put his YouTube in the description. But it's about a minute long. There's some highlights to give people an idea of what kind of stuff they do.
You two are doing a podcast, am I right?
We are, yeah.
Plug away. Plug away.
Basically, it's going to be a scare enthusiast podcast, loads of scare attractions,
Horror experiences, paranormal stuff.
and I believe episode 1's going to be a review of Curse at Alton Manor.
Ooh.
So check that out.
This is basically material for episode 1, but it's called The Scare Seekers.
Yes.
Scare
Nice.
Seekers, yeah.
Do you on Twitter as well? You on Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, The Scare Seekers and at
Yeah, we got ultimate vlogging going on. Everyone's got droids this year. It's not the only one this year.
sort of quite on display at the moment.
Oh, so cool.
So I'll ask James first. When did you kind of get really into all things sort of horror and spooky, and what kind of sparked that for you?
So it'd probably be from 2018. I went to Scarefest for the first time. Basically, I was going to Towers regularly at that point because I got the season pass, and I thought might as well try the scare mazes. Started off with Altonville Mine Tours, absolutely terrified of going in, and then by the end of that day, I fell in love with scare mazes. And weirdly, I'm kind of a wimp with everything else. It's like normally like horror films, mostly like any kinds of jump scares and games and stuff. But weirdly, with scare mazes, I'm fine with it. Like I'm just okay with the more like real threats rather than the ones on screen.
What about you, Joe? When did it start for you?
I used to be absolutely terrified. Is that a sneeze or a cough, Stacey?
Sorry, cough. Sorry.
It was like a sneeze and a cough combined. I went to Alton Towers actually in 1993 and 1994. It would have been the first couple of years of the original haunted house. And I was just a little child at that point and terrified, so I didn't even get into it. I got through into the lobby and left. So that just goes to show I really wasn't seeking scares as a little boy. But about 8 or 9, I suddenly became obsessed with history and horror, especially horrible history books were really big at the time. Yeah. And that's kind of what was the pathway into horror, was going to the London dungeons, originally on Tooley Street, which was the best dungeons, if you ask me, the original one. And I fell in love with it. Absolutely loved any kind of themed horror experience. And my passion for horror films, really, though, has only grown over the last few years, probably during lockdown, if I'm entirely honest. But yeah, I've always loved being involved with scare attractions and horror. I think the more you confront horror in the setting of a film or in an attraction or even just a scary story, it's really good for your overall mental health and well-being. So I promote horror as a medicine.
How did you two meet? Were you theme park enthusiasts beforehand, or?
So I think it was through. So there's a thing called Virtual Towers Online. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah. So we were both on the Discord server for that. And I believe Joe at one point messaged me about some some tips for Scarefest for going for the first time. And then since then we were messaging each other, and eventually we met on the first day of Scarefest last year.
It seems like I don't know, I thought you'd known each other years.
No, not really. It's been relatively recent. And then Joe mentioned about the podcast. And then Joe mentioned about the podcast, and then we're doing a podcast now. So there we go.
Just to let you know, obviously, Coasted Chicken's a huge fan of the podcast as well. So
nice. Yeah.
Wicked. Yeah. He's a lovely chap.
I'm sure he's been putting some input on certain things as well for the podcast. I'm sure he has, but yeah, he's pretty awesome.
So shall we start with the curse?
Yeah, which I'm actually wearing the t-shirt for. So
well, I've got merch as well, James. Don't try to outdo me, young man. There we go. That's
he's got someone else bought the compact mirror.
I got the compact mirror too.
I've got the pin as well. Holographic.
It's got a big market for compact mirrors.
No,
I was like, I'm having that, and I'm going out on a night out with that thing.
I think we're both. Yeah, I think we were definitely, James and I know Aaron is as well, very much in love with the Curse at Alton Manor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys, and it's so weird that you were both there on the same day as us. You were basically right next to us at some point.
Yeah,
we didn't really know each other. But crikey, that ride is just beautiful. It was such a shock because it felt like such a new attraction. In fact, I think I was probably swearing quite a lot on that first ride round, going, "This is a new ride," and it really was just a revolution from what it was before. Did you like Duel, or were you fans, or?
I never used the guns. I just sat there and tried to take it in, but obviously all these lights about and everyone going
The certain someone going pew pew all the time was me. But yeah, I quite like the guns, but obviously now they're gone. I think it's quite refreshing, to be honest.
Have you managed to get on the curse quite a few times?
13 for both of us at the moment now, I think.
Yeah.
Because after a while, like what you said, it feels so new, but then you realise a lot of it's just repurposed, but it's almost like they've managed to hide that with smoke and mirrors a lot, so it's not.
Yeah, they really have. You can definitely get a sense of the older attractions obviously underneath it. It feels, I think though, it's just the story, the way they took the story and just went with the Emily Elton, which was such a small part of the original rides. That's for me has revolutionized the ride, and especially the pre-show is one of the best pre-shows out there. It's better than a lot of the Disney ones as well. My personal opinion. So yeah, but we were blown away by it, especially on opening day. What a day!
Yeah, I mean, I think I just went around it just like screaming the entire time because it was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I think I said on the podcast as well, because I'm such a fan of scare attractions and scare mazes and stuff, it felt like a scare maze in ride form in a way. And so that's just made it amazing for me. So yeah.
So
I'm gonna say it's quite handy for like obviously the younger generation if they do get too scared of it. It's not a case of like in a scare maze you'd stand there and then the actors would come towards you and you'd like just stand there for a bit. It's a case of you're in the sort of like, I want to say the carriage, but you're in the train, and then like it just keeps moving. So it's like, okay, you've had that scare, and then it's like go to the next one sort of thing. So it keeps it moving along with the story as well.
I'll start with James, and I'm going to put this in the question because I think it's going to be the answer otherwise. Aside from, and this is going to get a huge ovation in the comments probably. Aside from the Trumbull Tunnel, what was your favourite effect in there?
I think it's got to be the Pepper's ghost in like the mirror corridor. So where you go past like the bunch of mirrors, and then you see Emily in the carriage with you, which actually got turned off for a bit, but now it's back on, luckily. But yeah, I think that's when we saw that for the first time, we just like saw it out of the corner of our eye, and it's genuinely really effective.
I missed it the first. That's my favorite as well, but I missed it the first time.
I grabbed Mike's arm. I was like,
there's a lot of stuff you miss if you're only going to go on it once or twice.
Yeah.
What would you say, Joe, was your favorite effect in there?
It's strangely not really. Well, I suppose it is an effect. Essentially, it's actually the dark spaces. I really enjoyed the use of sound in the dark spaces. There's something about your own imagination in darkness, putting two and two together, hearing Emily running past you saying, I'm here, I'm over here, I'm over here, and then here I am with the big finger pointing at you, telling you that she's found you finally. That use of darkness, and especially how that darkness is built up with her covering her eyes, and then the shadow of her turning into this monster, this giant boogeyman or boogie girl that chases you down the corridor of darkness. I just think it's so effective how you are completely using only your ears to build the story at that point. And I love the use of audio in attractions, and although we'll talk about the invitation later potentially, but I sometimes like the use of audio.
Yeah.
But weirdly the dark spaces.
It's funny you bring that up, because I personally think that's intended to be there, but you've probably heard it too, but a lot of people are saying, oh, they're going to add to it that darkness bit and they don't like it. But I actually, like you say, I was quite a big fan of it. I also like I don't know if it was intentional, but because they had that bit with the puppets where it says perfect family before that hand jumps out at you. So you think you're out of it.
You got the distraction, yeah.
And then suddenly it's...
Yeah, we kind of sort of, I think we touched on that in the review podcast that we did, but I always like to say, and it makes me sound, it's a bit arrogant for me to always like to say this, but it makes me sound really pretentious, but a well-made scare is like a well-made joke. There's the build-up, sometimes a distraction, and then there's the punchline, and I think that's why the darkness works so well in Curse, definitely. Yeah, so I'm glad you're a fan of it, Mike. I'm definitely,
I like I
love a bit of darkness.
Yeah, I like the bit of that, and the fireplace with that. Like I said it last time, it reminds me of that camera shot where you've got the main character, but then the background changes.
You mean it zooms in, but the background zooms out?
But then and it's like the person's, and it's like that when you go in the train towards the fireplace where Emily stood, and then the shadow appears. It's like that kind of effect, I think, with my eyes, but.
I always turn around in that room and look at the little filter over the light.
Yeah, I get proper chills from that one.
So we're going to carry on talking in a minute, but I thought I'd throw these in again. People have been watching the last couple of weeks. Started a thing called Roller Coaster Rewind. I've changed it this week about horror films. I have 3 little facts that might educate you. They might be naff. I don't know if people already know them, but I've given them funky headlines. And if you want to pick one now, we'll go back to the other 2 later on. We've got Call on Me, Shine On, Shine On, or to be or not to be, but be spelled like the animal.
So do we choose, or sorry, or
Yeah, you can choose one, and I'll read out the.
James, you go ahead, young.
Okay, right. Let's go for Shine On, Shine On.
Shine on, shine on.
Sorry, it's just the cover.
It took about a year to get the iconic shot in where blood pours out the elevator in The Shining. Right, but only 3 days to film it.
Oh wow!
Goodness me.
Yeah, I didn't know if you both know all these facts that I'm really
not a clue.
No, I did not know that fact. No, I love The Shining though. Yeah, I wonder if they, when it says it did 3 days to film, I wonder how many times they actually shot the blood flying out of the elevator, whether or not it was just in one take and lots of days worth, a few days worth of bits and bobs around it. But yeah, that's mad. Whether or not it's just like one take or not.
Because they did a recent sequel, didn't they?
Yeah,
Doctor Sleep.
That's it.
Yeah, Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
How was that in comparison? It probably paled, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I found it just way too depressing. I think I only got about halfway through it. Yeah, and it was not as much, weirdly, not as much fun as The Shining. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what we've got as well in the comments?
Yeah,
we've got. Oh, sorry, go on.
Coach Jones said the Dr. Pepper's ghost effect coming out of the coffin, which wasn't there on open.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
Ben and Holly said that Ben and Holly's theme park adventure said that the dark spaces are great for building up the suspense as well, which I agree with that one.
And also, I'll give a shout out. Ben and Holly's theme park adventures. They have donated a doll. They got in touch. They've donated a doll to the ride, but they're still waiting to hear back where it's been put. So as soon as they hear back, we'll probably all be looking.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Since we're already talking about Alton Towers, shall we talk about what you thought of Scarefest?
Ooh.
Was it your first Scarefest?
So for me, I've been going since 2018. I think Joe, did you go like a few years back? But like,
last year it would have been like early 2010s. I would have gone, yeah. And I think I was working at, or I just left working from the dungeons at that point. But yeah, so that was quite. I can't remember much of it. I think I did the Sanctuary. I think. But yeah, I wasn't such a huge like obsessive at that point. But yeah.
I was in 2018.
Yeah.
Big fan of Dr. Kelman.
Yeah.
Do you remember Dr. Kelman? Do you remember Dr. Kelman? I don't know if you remember him. We've had him on the show before.
Yeah. Because I actually watched. I think that was actually the first one I watched of. Love to Explore, specifically because it had him on, and just the fact of him saying that he'd be willing to come back makes me just want them to bring the Sanctuary back, because that'd be great. But yeah, I think with the Scarefest last year, as much as I do love the event and love the mazes and stuff, I think it's just that the event needs a refresh. Like, even though, like, for example, I love Altonville Mine Tours, my favorite maze. I've even got a skin snatcher mask, which I made. Not out of real skin, by the way. Like, even though that maze has been there for years and I love it, I think it's just the event as a whole needs a refresh. Like, especially I think with last year being, or meant to be, the 15 years anniversary, and they didn't really do anything for it. It just feels like it needs a bit of a boost in a way, I think. Hopefully with some new mazes and attractions.
Yeah, it did. I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed first of all doing Darkest Depths for the first time, and the Attic for the first time, because I'll be honest with you, during the lockdown years, I just did not go anywhere for almost 3 years. Basically, I just didn't do anything. So a lot of those attractions were ones that I was doing for the very first time, and also being in Cornwall. Fear at Avon Valley is basically my nearest place, so that was sort of why I didn't have such a massive relationship with Scarefest. But even I could tell that there was stuff in that Scarefest, that there was like so many empty spaces, so many areas where you could have had roaming actors, you could have had scare zones. And I don't know what it is. I think there's some reason Alton Towers doesn't have scare zones, but
budget,
they need them. Budget potentially, yeah. But they do need something, even if it's just actors roaming around, or very small troops of actors. I don't know how. You don't even have to theme the area; just have something going on. I thought the stage shows were also kind of uninspired. It's like let's just try and put on some different clothes and sing some different karaoke songs. Yeah. But
I'm
no
intrigued
offense.
to see. I'm intrigued to see what you think of the invitation. But first, I'll just flick to this because I think we sort of answered at the start. But Coach Chicken's asking what got you guys into the horror attractions and the scary stuff.
Yeah, I think as I said before, like just Scarefest 2018 really got me into it. Then also in 2019, I did Towers Times' Scare Amazing event where they got like all the behind the scenes and stuff and getting to do early access. I've been doing that for a few years now. It's a really good event to do. And yeah, just like getting that behind the scenes in the mazes. Like last year we did Altonville in the attic behind the scenes, which was great.
We did one before COVID.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mine Tours.
But I think that was probably before. Was it in 2018? It might have been 2017.
It was Altonville Mine Tours.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't know if it'll be one James has gone to. We had the big snoods on that were Raphael and Donatello.
Yeah.
So you would have known if we were there.
Right.
Might have been. I was like dressed in like a long black coat with blonde hair, so I was very different back then. Might have
There
been.
was someone with a long leather jacket.
Could have been that possibly.
I wasn't planning on talking about the invitation, but because Joe brought it up, I'm just very intrigued about. So I'll ask Joe first. What before it opened? What were you expecting, and how did that compare to what you got?
Everything that I'd read about Darkfield and everything that I'd seen about them and the reviews of the attractions or the shows, as they I suppose really rather than attractions, I thought this could be really, really good. This could, because I as I say, I love audio. I like the medium of audio. I actually often prefer podcasts to television shows and stuff like that. And I love the old BBC Radio 4 like horror story time kind of stuff. So I was well into an audio experience, but the invitation didn't live up to what I hoped it would have been, simply because there was so much disconnect from. It was like 3 attractions in one, and none of them really seemed to work. So you enter into the graveyard thinking, oh right, okay, graveyard, undertakers, this is exciting. Then there's almost like a medical facility in the lift. So you think, okay, that's different. Wasn't expecting that. And then the third part is, for some reason, just vampires. Where do they come from? What's this about? It just nothing, because it needs to be so carefully story based. If you're doing an audio attraction, the build up needs to work. Video attraction, but there was such a disconnect, and it was incoherent really because of that. And
do you think the advert
really
was anywhere close to what we got?
Nope. Definitely not. I don't think. Yeah, because the thing there was
no.
Yes, because I think that there was no real like even really tease. I think the only tease there was to vampires was in the logo. There was like a tiny little bat at the top. That was about it.
Well,
like, there was a bit of blood on it.
In the advert, it looked like you were going to pick somewhere to lie down. Potentially.
Oh yeah, and that kind of as well. Yeah.
It was like pick your final resting place, and then.
I thought it'd be like those little holes you get in like Japan, in those little hotels where you get like your own little bed that you get to like, swing into. I thought it'd be that, and then put headphones on.
Then it seemed weird. I don't know if you thought it seemed weird that it was a bit tongue in cheek in the lift when they were going, we're not in a real lift, but such and such.
Yeah, because if you're building an environment in which you really have to use your imagination, because all you have is audio, then surely you want to make sure that people believe in that story to begin with. But yeah, so that was where it failed. I don't think the actual audio was bad. I just think the experience was.
I don't know. The one thing I would ask you is, we went in like one of the first ones in our group, and our friend who we were with sat right at the end, and he commented, well, the audio didn't really work for me because everything should be on my left, yet he's walking past me and I know there's not people on my right. So I'm not sure if they could have had the budget to slightly change each headset to 3D sound, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is true actually. Yeah, I hadn't considered that.
And I just said, for those that don't have that sort of imagination, it'd have been nice when like if that person, there was a part on the audio, sorry, there's spoilers here. There's a part on the audio. There's a part on the audio where someone ends up putting their fingers through, and obviously the vampire's like eating chips basically. It'd be quite cool if like they did like a flash or something, and there's an actor with their hand through, like with their hand through, like
Well, apparently
You
they added
know,
an
and
that later on.
That gives them
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
more
they did.
imagination to the audio with it. Just saying for those that don't have that much imagination.
Did you either of you do the Thought Park one that they did?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And I actually
way.
kind of preferred. Yes, hello, hi, Joe. Wait, no, hi, Joe.
Wrong way.
Yeah. Hello. Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of prefer the terminal a little bit more, possibly a bit controversial. I don't know. I'm normally controversial, but yeah, I think I enjoyed that a bit more because it actually felt like a scare attraction in a way. Like, even though it had less of a story, it had more scares in it. And I remember one of the really good scares was because they actually managed to get people going along the middle, like with like a smell pod and with water spray. But there was one bit where they had these two glowing red dots on like a thing which they could hold, and they were meant to be like alien eyes. And then what they do is like go right into your face with them, and that genuinely like sent a chill down my spine because it was genuinely quite creepy. And I think just like the theming inside was a bit better with that as well. But yeah, I think even then it wasn't an amazing scare attraction, but at least compared to The Invitation, I could at least say it was a scare attraction, while The Invitation was just no.
Oh, there's quite a few things in the comments.
Ben
as well.
says,
thank you guys for typing all
he's
this.
curious to
up
know
as well.
what your favourite scene or scare from either a theme park maze or standalone scare attraction. So your favourite scene or scare in an attraction. Don't know, James, did you want to go first on that?
Yeah, so probably not necessarily my favorite scene, but I would say the scariest one, which is actually a bit of a teaser to our next episode on Passage del Terra, which is they have a scene where you walk down this corridor with these curtains, and at the moment they've got a ghost face from Scream in that section. So there's a few like ghost face things on the curtains, and at the end of the corridor you see Ghostface there, but it's actually a mirror. And so then when you walk up close, he jumps from the side in front of you. Genuinely the biggest scare I've ever had in a maze. That and I was right at the front as well, so that was terrifying. But yeah, I'd probably say that's definitely the biggest scare, the most effective scare that I've had, I guess.
We've got the distraction because of the mirror and then that.
Exactly, yeah. And like even on our second run, I was behind Joe, still terrifying, and then Ghostface followed me behind as well. So yeah, that was fun.
Can Joe still hear us?
I go say, is Joe about?
Joe.
We might have just lost connection at the minute with him, but
Hello.
we'll probably get back to him in a minute. Bless him. I'll go look through further back at the comments, so see if he'll come back on hopefully in a bit. He said did get better towards the end, but a little too late.
I think he's talking about the
yeah, The Invitation possibly. Yeah.
The Invitation. There is other comments as well, which I will have a look through as well. Coasting with the Joneses put Darcy's looking forward to getting back on Vampire at Chessington this weekend. Awesome.
Did you want to pick another headline or wait and see?
Yeah, can do. Yeah.
You got Call on Me or To Be or Not to Be.
Be or Not to Be.
How about Call on Me?
Call on Me. Here we go. Funny enough, it's about Scream.
Oh, good.
In the Scream series, Ghostface is voiced by Roger L. Jackson. Wes Craven intentionally hid Jackson on the set of all of the 3 original movies so that his voice would be scary to the actors. So they never saw him, and although they probably recorded different audio to put in the film, he actually made phone calls to them on the scene.
Nice.
Awesome. Right then. Oh, is he going to come back?
He'll come back.
Do you reckon he'll come back?
If you send him a message, he'll come back.
No pressure.
We just need to get the Ouija board out, summon him back.
But what
Joe.
What I do want to talk about is I want to talk about the children's programs that are unintentionally scary. And was it you who was scared of Bagpuss as a child?
Yes, absolutely. Not actually necessarily the character of Bagpuss. There's one character in it called Gabriel the Toad, who's this like banjo playing toad. But the problem was it was a stop motion animated show, but with Gabriel the Toad, because the puppeteering was a little bit more complex because he had to have him play the banjo and stuff, they made it like a live action puppet in a way. And so it looks really different to the animation style, which made it really creepy. And just his design as well is terrifying. But like also I was shown this as like a kid, like less than 5 years old probably. And yeah, I genuinely had nightmares every night about Gabriel the Toad. It was terrifying.
You know what, Knox Survives?
Yeah, Knox Survives just said he was scared as well.
Hey, Breaking Trails as well. Thank you for joining us.
Can
If
Joe
you've got
hear
any
us?
questions, ask away.
We've got Joe.
We've just lost
Got Joe.
connection with Joe, but he should be coming back. Joe, if you can hear us.
Nosy Bonk. Who's Nosy Bonk?
That was another one. I can't remember the show that sort of Joe could actually probably say more about it. But it was like this. It was like this character with like a white mask and this really long nose.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. He was in the picture
terrifying.
for the podcast, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I didn't really know much about him, but
And he was in
he still looks creepy and
but
terrifying.
look different. But you have to listen to the podcasts. You can get it on Spotify as well, just to let you know, guys, in the chat.
The Lost Hour episode of Erie, Indiana. I had nightmares for weeks after that. Is Erie, Indiana isn't a kid's show though?
Erie,
I
Indiana.
don't know.
Oh, not heard that one before, have you?
What kids shows?
See, I've already contributed towards mine. Mine was Pob.
Oh yeah, Pob. Yeah, I remember that.
We were quite lucky enough to have it recorded on video, a little bit of it, and it just didn't seem right. It's like someone shoved the vacuum cleaner and put it the other way on this puppet, and the proportion of massive eyes to.
Would it be safe to
just Google it?
Would it be safe to say? I don't know if people in the comments want to differentiate on this, but it seems to me like the majority, if not all, of these unintentional things that scare people as kids in children's shows were of the stop motion variety, rather than
definitely
2D or maybe live action as well. Was there any live action ones that
they mentioned animation on one of your podcast, didn't they? So obviously that's another one to.
Yeah, and I think there were a couple of live, like I think Return to Oz was one that was because we got clips on the episode. Yeah, but we basically on the episode we reacted to clips of certain things. So I had loads of Gabriel the Toad, we reacted to the clip from Return to Oz of the sort of like the Hall of Heads thing where you got like all these heads and different glass cabinets. Yeah, so we reacted to that on there.
So I think when I was younger, I maybe found were they called I don't know what they're called now, and I watched it about a year ago. Were they called the rollers? The people with the wheels on the end of their feet? Wheelers.
Wheelers.
But you look at it now and you just think...
that and the head scene got me, but it was more film.
You look at it now and you think, well, if I got attacked by them, I could just push them over. They're just on wheels. But at the time as a kid, you're just like...
But it's interesting. Isn't that creature at the end of Darren Brown's Ghost Train was like kind of looked like a bit of a wheeler, where the arms and the legs were like in proportion with each other, wasn't it? I don't know because I've not physically seen it.
This is a great little bit of a segue. I wasn't going to talk about Darren Brown's Ghost Train.
Sorry.
But did you ever get to ride Darren Brown's Ghost Train?
I got to ride it once. I think it was last year. It was either at Fright Nights or when I went to Carnival last year. But the problem is I don't really do well with VR jump scares, which means throughout the vast majority of it, I just had my eyes closed. But then it's funny, at the end, he told you to open your eyes because it was okay. And then the demon jump scares you in the face. So that was fun. But I'm definitely looking forward to the new Ghost Train that they've got, though. I'm thinking it could genuinely, from some of the stuff I've been seeing from like the promotion, could genuinely like be a good competition for Curse at Alton Manor. Do you think it'll be
similar in the way that they're just going to repurpose a lot? Like you'll notice things are there, they're just been changed slightly.
I think so, possibly like retheme. But I think also the inclusion of actually having live actors in there as well will really make like a massive difference instead of having it all mainly be VR. Because I love the kind of live actor bits that they already had in there. So actually adding that in the confined space of the train, I think will be a really cool idea. So. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's Andy from Coasting with the Joneses says in the Night Garden freaked him out, but that's as an adult.
I get a little bit spooked with Iggle Piggle, to be honest, because he goes to bed but in a boat, and I always think of like in mythology with like
a Viking funeral.
Where they that, and obviously the guy that you have to pay the toll in order to go to the underworld sort of thing as well. Kind of. I get that kind of, sort of vibes with it a little bit, but I don't know why. But
I went on to the Alton Towers ride once on, I think it was in the Christmas event a couple of years back, but I went on it at night, and it's genuinely quite creepy because a lot of the animatronics are like really broken down, and so at night it's kind of disturbing. So that's a scary dark ride for people to try in the Night Garden at night. Also the Postman Pat one as well, because they're just like static figures, like just slightly in the dark. So weirdly kind of creepy. But...
To be honest, I went on the Postman Pat ride with a friend, not with you, but obviously with my friend. And I thought they'd actually moved when we went on them. And I was like, are they moving? They're like, no, they're not moving. I went, are they moving? Like, I knew we were moving, but I was like, I'm sure I'd just seen the hand move.
You see, like, what them
No
turn
alcohol
towards you.
involved.
Yeah.
But it's very harrowing.
I'm going to sort of segue into something we saw in the highlights video. I'm not sure which attraction it was, but I'm not sure if you or Joe. Well, I'm assuming it was you that went, but the might have been the Blitz Museum. But talking about scary things that aren't intentionally meant to be scary, that scene where it pans around, and it's just a hall full of mannequins having a party.
Yeah, that was actually from Joe's. He went to a lot. He goes to a lot of places near Cornwall. There's one called Cornwall at War, which has just like a load of Cornwall at War stuff, I guess. But there's one room, that's just full of mannequins, and I'll actually be going to visit Joe in July, I think, and so we'll probably be going there. So that'll be fun to deal with. Also, they got that Blitz one, which I believe's at Flambards, which is like a little theme park place. So then we'll be going there as well, where they've got a sort of creepy Victorian village and war reenactment. Hey, Joe's back. Hi, Joe.
You're back from the dead.
Okay, hi, Joe. I faced the right way this time.
Oh my goodness! There we go. Hi guys. Sorry.
Hi.
That's all right.
It's okay.
What children's TV scared you as a kid?
Worst time ever.
What children's TV scared you as a kid? We were just talking about
me. Yeah. Oh no, it's not gone again, is it?
No, you're back.
I went a little bit, but it's come back.
Right, yeah. TV that scared me as a child. God, I've almost forgotten now. There's been so much happening in the last few seconds.
There was that like that Swedish one, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was one I saw as an adult. Weirdly, yeah, I was out there in 2012, and I used to live there for a bit, and in the middle of nowhere in the forest in a cabin on my own with just me and my cat, who you saw earlier. There was this really strange TV program on Christmas Eve, which they call You Laughed On out there, and that's the big day basically. It's Christmas Eve, and I thought, this would be nice, a bit of cozy Christmas Swedish programming, and in the end, it just turned out to be an absolute horror show with topless crows screaming that they want the rivers to run with the blood of the children, and absolutely mad. It's called Astrid Lindgren's Yule, if you ever find it. It's on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube as well. And there's trolls as well. Oh, really? Yeah, it's great.
I might have watched it. Probably.
You'll have to check. I'll send you a link later just to see if you have, because that'll be amazing if you have.
That'd be fab.
And there's some creepy trolls in it as well. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Sorry, go on.
I'll ask Joe. What's your favourite scare event not at a theme park? Nook Survives is asking.
Not at a theme park. Well, I was very lucky enough to experience Halloween Horror Nights in Japan. That was insane. It was mad. Everything about it was completely off the rails, and there's something about Japanese horror that I find even more frightening than a lot of British or Americanized horror, because it's so foreign, if that makes sense. So Sadako, for example, from The Ring, she took over one of the attractions and popped up in different places, and the live actors and stuff were incredible.
Have you seen the crossover? Have you seen? I can't pronounce their names. Have you seen the crossover they did with the girl from The Ring the girl from The Grudge, the woman from The Grudge?
Oh, I don't know which one. I don't think.
It's literally their names. It's called
Ju-on. Yeah. Oh, yeah, something like that.
The one that goes.
I'll have to have a look.
There's a film where they. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a crossover, but it's a Japanese.
And they had the boy that leads them into the house, wasn't it?
It's like Freddy versus Jason, but
exactly.
Girls.
That's quite decent, though.
I must admit that was my first film.
If anyone wants to see it, it's on Shudder. Get the 7-day free trial and just watch that film.
My first film was The Ring, and I watched it in Japanese when I was really, really young. I shouldn't have actually watched it, and even to this day, just looking at someone with their hair down in the corner, like, my friend freaked me out when I got a bit older because she stood in the corner with like all her black hair down. I dropped to the floor. I screamed and dropped to the floor. But,
you also have a fear of people approaching you on the floor.
Yeah, I just.
She doesn't like people crawling towards her on the
floor. Please don't crawl in front of me if you do see me at Alton Towers.
Imagine we see them at Alton Towers. I
can't really think of a specific situation where that would happen. But, okay.
Yeah, there's something about that. Yeah, the Asian or like Japanese. There's some very strange Malaysian ghosts as well. They almost look like rabbits, but the way
Yes.
culture bury the dead,
Yes.
white robe, so it's like that twisty robe, and so yeah, there's something about foreign horror or non-British horror, let's put it that way, from across the world that I just absolutely love. Anything that's just different and exotic and exciting.
The thing is, they time it so well with like the Asian movies in terms of the sound as well. So that goes in pretty well with what you said. That works really well with sound because they pitch it at the right moment.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
I
a
love
case
sound,
of
yeah.
like American movies where they have a build up with like orchestra music with violins going quick in the background. It goes completely silent, and then there's the noise, and then the way it approaches as well, and it's that build up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think they time it really
It's
well
one of
as
my
well.
issues with a lot of The Conjuring.
Mm.
Yeah,
Close to
that's like
Chicken's
with The
Feet.
Conjuring and those sort of films. They're all the same. Have that same sort of build up.
I'm assuming you would have known of Ghost Watch. It's insanely. I've seen it.
DVD.
And I may have just
Yeah.
ordered the DVD for a certain podcast that might be coming up at some point. So
Yeah.
Have you seen the live episode of Inside Number 9? That was famously the one where the sound went off, but it was actually part of it. But a load of people thought their sets were.
Yeah, they went back to the ident and said, "Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's a problem with the TV. We'll be showing an older episode of Inside Number 9."
Then it was slightly different. It wasn't the older. Yeah, it was quite good. I don't know if it's still on iPlayer, but I want to talk about Ghostwatch. Knows brought it up because I think a lot of people watching won't know what it is, but I think it's a cult thing, and it's really. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on it, and I've seen documentaries on it because some bad stuff happened afterwards. But I don't know if you want to explain. I can explain what it is if you want, but I don't know if one of you wants to. I think Joe would love to explain what it is.
Go ahead. You probably know way more than me, because Ghostwatch is something I only
it was
really.
Essentially, for anyone who doesn't know what it was a program where they pretended they went into a house where there was a poltergeist, wasn't it? And they had and before the show went on, they were told they had to reference that it wasn't real, but they only kind of vaguely did that. And cut a long story short, this program, and had Craig Charles and Michael Parkinson, I think, was in it. Was he in it as well?
Yeah.
Basically,
Sarah
they
Green,
kept going back to the studio and then to this house, and there was a poltergeist, and then they'd flick back to footage, and you'd see the ghost was actually. And essentially, they got in a lot of trouble because a lot of people watching thought it was real. And there's a bit where the ghost was tapping on the radiator pipes, and I remember they got a complaint because someone heard radiator pipes tapping in their house, and they thought they had the ghost, and they it's not really funny. They killed themselves, but they got in trouble for that.
Oh, good.
But I don't know if you want to talk about your memories of it, Joe. I kind of went over it briefly for people that don't. It's worth looking up. It probably is on YouTube as well.
I think the public really took it seriously, though, didn't
But
they?
it was quite. If you didn't know, you could be forgiven if they're thinking it, because it was portrayed as a news program, and it was a bit like Crime Watch. They went back to the studio, and there's a load of people there.
Yeah, I said it looked like Crime Watch, and I watched bits of it with you, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, someone killed themselves. There is a
was-
video about it on some sort of documentary about the whole thing on YouTube. Close Chicken.
Yeah, it's very there's no sense, because sometimes you get mockumentaries, but that very much was taken seriously. It was very earnest, and it felt very genuine. And the pipes, the ghost pipes, was absolutely terrifying when you just see it's just the shadow of it in the corner of the room. It feels very Enfield haunting.
They built up a big backstory for it to be. There was like a lot of effort went into it. I mean,
amazing. I wish they would do something like that. I mean, I wish they would do something like that today. But I mean, Inside Number 9 was kind of like that, the Halloween special, but not to that level.
What did you think to like Paranormal Activity, both of you? Have you watched Paranormal Activity? Like,
I'm assuming Joe has. I have not. I'm a very uncultured swine when it comes to this stuff. So
yeah, I have seen. I think I've seen the first three, and then I kind of gave up on it. If I'm honest with you, maybe I should give them a marathon one day.
What
Are you
did
a big
you think
fan?
of them? I wasn't. I kind of snubbed my nose at them, thinking they were just going to be a jump fest with no real story to it. But then when you go back and you actually watch it, I realized there's actually underlying backstory here, and it all kind of ties around. It's a bit like in the same way that it's nothing like it, but how Insidious, end up having like time travel later on, and stuff that happened in the first film that wasn't explained kind of got explained, and it's a bit like that with Paranormal Activity as well.
Oh right, it sort of overlaps a little bit, and yeah, it seems like they try a lot of films now almost seem to set out not initially to become franchises, but if they have one film that is good that people really like, they will just go back and back and back over stuff to try and world build.
They can
like
go
there's
to
the
the world too
Conjuring
many times.
universe, and there's like an Insidious universe now, isn't there? Really, and all the Annabelle films that I think are progressively worse as they go along. The first Annabelle film isn't that great, but somehow they seem to get worse from that point onwards. But
yeah, definitely.
Did we want to? Because I'll go over. I don't know if you heard when we did the second headline, the facts. I don't know if you want me to go over that again, Joe.
By all means, if you want to, yeah.
It was.
Read it again for those that have just joined us as well. Of those, everyone in the comments, just you want to give us
in the Scream series,
Ghostface
is voiced by Roger L. Jackson. Wes Craven intentionally hid Jackson on the set of all 3 original movies so that his voice would be scarier to the actors.
Ah, nice. That's interesting. I didn't know that either.
We've got the last one.
I'll do the last one now. It was To Be or Not to Be, spelt B-E-E. And I think you probably know this one. Candyman's climax used real, fresh-hatched, non-stinging bees, but he still got stung, but he negotiated $1,000 for each sting they received.
Oh, nice. That is nightmare fuel. That is. I've sort of just. It's taken 35 years for me to appreciate bees and just about cope with them. But wasp, if that was a wasp,
what was stopping you appreciating them?
So if anyone stings you, it'd be like, you owe me $1,000, whoever it is now.
You watch the bee movie as therapy, Joe.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. They've got a job to do, and that's fine. But as long as they don't bother me.
I always remember when he's put out the Bee movie. I always remember that joke where they try and do a pact suicide, and he says to her, "I'll sting you and you crush me," and she goes, "That doesn't work. You die twice."
Yeah.
Poor little sausages.
I would say, anyone allergic to bee stings?
I don't think I would have to find out. I've got no.
But yeah, in terms of Scarefest though, out of which Scarefest, like I know it was probably based on last year's Scare Mazes, or last year's. Which one was your favourite?
Got to be Altonville Mine Tours for me. I think it's because it was my first ever maze as well, so I've got a lot of sentimental value. But I just think even after 7 years of it being there, it still feels like a fresh layout. Like whenever I go into that maze, I'm always surprised by the jump scares. While with like the attic, I've got a bit used to that because the storyline's quite linear, so I kind of know what's going to come next. With Altonville, always surprised me. And also I went in the Skin Snatcher costume last year as well, which was great to have the actors interact with that while I was there. So that was great. But yeah, Altonville always be in my heart, and it's probably going to go this year. But yeah.
What about Joe?
I think Altonville as well. I think Altonville's is just the strongest and most frightening attraction, most claustrophobic. Darkest Depths was very pretty and really nicely done. Very attractive. Almost, if not matching Universal kind of level.
I was going to say, it's almost like if Disney did a scare attraction but didn't want to scare anyone.
They did have a lot more detail as well, I think, this year compared to last year as well.
Yeah, and some amazing interaction as well in there.
But
the attic is, I like the attic story the most, if that makes sense. The storyline. Yeah.
Do you have any bucket list scare attractions in the UK? Knox is asking.
We're doing Tully's for the first time ever, aren't we?
Yeah, it's got to be it. Yeah, because I didn't realize that it's got like 9 attractions there. Because it's like the biggest 11 in Europe, apparently. Oh yeah. I think it's like 9. It's like 9 mazes and 2. Because there's like the haunted hayride.
Oh yeah, like Circus of Horrors and hayride.
That's what I'm very excited for.
I don't know, because I'm really not really old enough, but I know about it. Just I'm going to go on to the quiz in a minute. This isn't to do with the quiz, but talking about programs that scared children, I'm just thinking how dark. And I thought there's some innocent programs that are quite dark, like Thomas the Tank Engine. And then I thought, have either of you seen Tugs?
I've seen a video on YouTube about Tugs. I believe it's from Tomska. He did a video on Thomas the Tank Engine and Tugs and about how the logic of it all works. And yeah, it is quite dark when you actually consider.
I don't know. Did you know about Tugs or?
No, I'm just having a sneaky side look at my phone. I don't know about
For
I
that.
don't
people,
think I
for
will have a
people at
sneaky side
home,
look as
it's
well. I'm like,
it
what's
was.
that?
I think was it made by the same people? It was I don't know, but it
I
was
think-
a boat version of Thomas the Tank Engine essentially. But it
Oh,
was filmed
yes.
on water, and they had a big set. But just it was very dark themes all the time.
The faces.
Like, but yeah, they had the
They
faces
always
on
look quite
because
cropped,
there
I
is
thought.
you can go and see the models, and it's near us actually, but it only opens for like one weekend in August. So we didn't do it. We were going to go and see it last year, but anyone wants to look that up, Tugs is very dark for children's, even darker than Thomas the Tank Engine. And they left. Didn't they have one episode, Thomas, where they bricked up that tunnel and that train just stayed in there. And
Yeah.
I don't think people
And then
realise
at the
what
end,
they're
it
putting
just
children
like.
through. There we go.
And I like when they've just bricked him in. Then at the end, you have like Ringo Starr saying something really dark, and it just goes with like the happy, cheery Thomas the Tank Engine credits.
Kind of
Like, it's great.
It's something along the lines of "but he deserves it" or something, or "but he needs to" something like that.
I think he deserved it, don't you? Da, 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 da. Like it's just it's great, just the tonal shape.
What does everyone think is happening to the tunnel outside Altonville? I think they mean the tunnel that goes to X Sector.
Yeah, so basically it's like the bit that's using the queue line. There was some construction going on a few weeks back.
Oh, okay.
On our last visit, we did go through the tunnel. There wasn't anything new there. I thought it might be some new permanent lighting, but there isn't really anything in there. So I'm wondering what's going on with it. Either something. Also, I think we saw that someone on Twitter had posted that they were outside Altonville, possibly one of the techies doing something. So maybe something's going on with that maze. Who knows? But yeah. Ooh. Exciting.
Exciting.
So, do we want to have a go at this quiz? People in the comments can help out as well.
Yes.
But,
we'll need a lot of your help comments, please.
I'm going to say apologies.
Right. Essentially, I've spelled out scare seekers, but they're letters taken from horror film logos.
Oh.
Right, I think the C in scare is that Paranormal Activity. Possibly.
Yes,
I haven't even seen the film, but I just somehow know that.
Oh, I've got the E at the end of scare.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've actually got one. I can just relax now.
Yeah,
I got the S at the end of Seekers as well. I think.
Oh, here we go. What?
Is that Saw?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
There's a lot of good ones on here, I've realised.
I'm surprised we got 3.
Is the third E Scream?
The third E?
Yeah.
What, the white one?
Yeah, the white one.
No,
sorry.
but it's quite a famous.
Oh.
I think I'll give you a clue. The first S is a film that Joe mentioned earlier.
No, I've forgotten what I've said earlier because it's been such an emotional.
Oh, Breaking Trails. It's not from Jeepers Creepers.
They are from Jeepers.
No.
Oh, K is Finders Keepers.
No. K.
Anything with Eepers at the end.
I'll give you a clue. K is sort of a name also given to a ride recently. Yes, the first S is The Shining, Ben.
Shining.
Oh, well, there we go.
Oh, wow.
But the K is from it also says the name of the roller coaster.
Not Sick.
No.
Just Sick.
A new roller coaster. Was the roller coaster begin with K?
No. There were 2 films made, and one of them had Nicolas Cage, and it was a great performance.
Oh, Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, one of those films is a good film.
Iron Maiden. That's one of my other favourite songs. In Iron Maiden.
It's the first
Wicker
E.
Man.
He is from the yeah.
No, we've already just worked out that's Halloween. So.
I'll say the A and the R in Scare are both from 80s horror films that are quite big.
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street would be one of them, and that would be the A, I believe.
Yep, Nightmare on Elm Street.
And
Breaking Trails has got the R, and Seekers it is the ring.
Oh yeah,
it's the one with the woman.
Okay, the second one, yeah.
Some of these films have more than one logo.
I'm really intrigued by the second R, the one in Seekers, because there's some sort of image behind that I'm trying to.
No, that is the one. That's the one from the ring.
Oh, that is the one.
The ring,
right.
Yeah, it's the first R we haven't got.
Yeah.
What an imbecile I am. I do apologise.
The first eye is from another famous 80s horror film.
Oh, Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
Friday, yeah.
The S. Has anyone got the S? The S is quite standoutish, I thought.
Yeah, it's really ringing the bell with me, which is doing my head in. This is I feel like an absolute charlatan when I say I'm a scare seeker.
No, it's
Stephen King's It.
Yeah.
Technically.
Oh.
No, it's from a film that has is the guy's name well, it's more than one. There's a pinhead in it.
Oh, Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, I really like Hellraiser as well. I love those films. Yeah.
He is I'll give you a clue. On the movie poster or the logo, most of the time it was a little girl putting her hands up to a TV.
Oh, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen that one.
Very good.
What have we got left?
Sounds horrible, doesn't it? I haven't actually seen that one.
The second E and the last E in Seekers.
I am clueless at now. I really am.
You'll know the red one.
We've got.
Yeah, we've got Ben's right. We've already said that. But yeah,
we're
Ben's
just looking
right.
at all the others as well. The second art is the ring. Yeah.
The second
C from Paranormal Activity.
The second
Just catching up, guys. Thank you for all
I think you'll kick
contributing
yourself.
in the comments. It's awesome.
I think you'll kick
honestly.
yourself. But the second D is a certain protagonist called Ash in the film.
Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Ruby. Ruby.
Which I watched literally just 2 days ago.
The last one is a sort of sci-fi horror
My
film.
favourite.
And I think that was 80s again.
Alien?
Alien, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely a
There we
horror
go.
film.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's
There's
brilliant.
all the letters I took.
That's a lot of work there, Mike. Well done.
No,
Yeah.
he puts so much effort
It
into
doesn't
these
take that
things.
long.
He really does, honestly.
Have you seen the new Evil Dead Rises? Is I saw it once and I thought it's all right. Saw it a second time, absolutely fell in love with it. I'm going
I
to see it
love
a
Evil
third time.
I love
And on
Evil
the third
Dead.
time, you'll hate it, Joe.
Yeah, no me.
Ooh.
Oh,
I just love this photo because I have absolutely no reaction on it whatsoever. And it's meant to be the bit which is the scariest bit. And I just have. And so then when we last went on it, I was purposefully making reactions for the camera, which is
yeah.
great.
It's a shame you can't zoom in on Luke there because he looks like
Luke's face.
He looks like he's either suffering from claustrophobia or.
I thought he didn't look that bothered.
He does look quite cozy in the middle, actually. To be
Oh no,
honest.
actually, yeah, he does look quite scared now.
He's just got like a kind of.
Aaron
just
looks
in the
quite
dreamland.
calm though. What did Aaron have any opinions on seeing the flume duck in there? Was he quite happy?
I think so. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think he was
he's always
counting
happy
as
to
many
see a
ducks as
duck.
he could. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit random, but I genuinely thought Joe had a third hand there for some weird reason.
What
But I don't
genuinely
know-
you thought? Yeah.
And like there's 2 hands and then there's like another one underneath. But I don't know unless it's like a bag or something that you're holding.
Do you know what? It just wouldn't surprise. I seem to be a ghost magnet at
hang
the
on.
moment. So
It's so cool. Sorry, it looks like a third hand.
It's
I
like a
don't think it
pumpkin
is.
face, yeah.
It's on your trousers. That's why.
I'm glad you said hand.
Oh, right. You meant in the
Yeah.
photo. I thought you meant on his like webcam thing. Like,
That's what I thought.
That would
Oh,
be
yeah,
I
I
was
was
wondering.
like,
no,
yeah,
you mean that, right?
yeah.
Got it.
I
on
thought it
the
was a
photo,
third
yeah,
hand. I
I
was
can
like,
see that.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you want to
And
tell
then
us
this was
about
at,
this location, James.
Yeah, so this was at Hat Green nuclear bunker after we'd been in the traumatizing halls of the bunker. And the thing is, it was the first time I'd sat in the cafe bit, and I'd just got a hot chocolate. I put it down, and then suddenly Goulash, their cat, was there, and he just
Yeah.
jumped on me, and he was there for about an hour.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I mean, he
whole
did
hour.
dig in a bit, but yeah,
Is
he's
that a Tunnocks
adorable.
caramel you're eating there? Or?
No, it's a Kit Kat chunky,
Oh,
which
it's
I
like
tried.
that.
Yeah. I had to try and keep it away from Goulash so he wouldn't eat it. But yeah, he was adorable. I was literally using it as a pillow.
That's
So
so
cute.
nice.
Looking at your
that-
badges as well. How many of these? You've got some of those random 16 you can buy.
Yes,
in
I've actually got
flag
them all on my
bags.
desk at the moment.
How many of those have you got them all now?
No, I've only got 2 of them so far. I've got the Nemesis Inferno one.
Oh, wow.
Better Nemesis. Controversial opinion, but there we go.
What
And then I've also got
It's a
Tiger
pin
Rock.
badge, that's what I'm wearing
as
it.
well. Yeah.
Ooh, tag, yeah.
So I've been like trying to collect them on like every visit just to try and because I'm a collector
I think,
person. So yeah.
I think we talked about it on Monday's show, which is a different show to this, but we went weekend before last, and there was a woman
Sorry.
and a son or daughter. I can't remember what the kid was. And they had paper and a pencil, and they were
They're
doing it
posting it with a
against the
pencil.
thing. I thought
Oh,
that was
like
good
an
work for the
etching.
flower, was it?
Yeah, that's cool.
We tried doing like the whole Lego like miniature thing where you try and feel in the bag as well. So
Yeah,
It doesn't really work with those, does it?
it doesn't.
I don't know if you want to tell us about this attraction.
Yes, that's Bodmin Jail. I've been there a few times now. I was there yesterday because I finished work early and thought let's go to Bodmin Jail, as you do. But yeah, it's quite local to me, about half an hour away, and it's an absolutely amazing place. Very impressive, must admit. Oh, House of Frankenstein. I've got I don't know if you can see it there. I've got a poster of a House of Frankenstein. But I was there last week or week before last, and I highly recommend it if you're ever in Bath or near Bath, the city. It's both a brilliant museum, but also it's got a lovely scare maze underneath it. So in the basement, there is quite a frightening human experiment scare maze. So yeah, definitely go to House of Frankenstein if you're a fan. Yeah, Mary, and they tell Mary Shelley's story so beautifully. If you're into a bit of literature history,
Yes, I love
there's
it.
Bodmin Jail After Dark, because they do a nighttime experience where you can potentially meet ghosts, which I'm not sure if I did or not, but I potentially did.
I thought the sound that you've got as well on your podcast, like just hearing the sounds, even for the previous, I've forgotten already, the bunker that you've been to as well. Just listening to the sounds at the corridor, it was just like so crisp and clear. But obviously, I felt like, for me, I felt like I could hear something. I seemed to hear something. I couldn't explain what, and it was like, oh my gosh. So the audio is amazing on these podcasts, by the way. So for those that have not heard before, yeah.
I've not done the York.
Sorry, York Dungeon. Change the subject.
Favorite dungeon, York. Yeah,
that's your next podcast topic.
Yeah,
Passage,
terrifying place. Yeah,
yeah.
Generally, still haven't recovered. So.
Have you done a scare attraction that's made you like it scares you so much it's almost put you off?
Oh no.
I think for a while Altonville was like that because I genuinely found it really scary. I have got more used to it now. I think with Passage, I still need a few more times before I'm really comfortable with it. Because like literally after our first one, we just went into like a nearby cafe and just had to chill out because it was that scary. Genuine. Like I feel like with Passage, while it had like less of a story, it was the scariest maze I've been through. Like it was genuinely like fearing for my life, scary, like which is good, but terrifying.
Yeah, I did find it scary. Yeah, I definitely found it scary, but I must admit, I think it probably is the best, the most scariest attraction in the UK when it comes to
absolutely
well-made scares.
And there's a lovely ghost train that we went on to. Which, it was a fun little... in fact, this was my first proper ghost train that I've been on as well, because obviously I've done, like, Jewel and Curse at Alton Manor, but I've never done, like, a proper classic ghost train anywhere. So, yeah, that was fun to do.
That's at Coral Island, the big casino in Blackpool. Yeah.
Have you been to all the dungeons as well?
I've just got Warwick and Edinburgh to do. I'll be doing Warwick later in the year. Then I'll just need to find a reason to go down to Edinburgh to do that dungeon.
What's your favourite?
No, that's what I was leading on to. Yeah.
I haven't actually done the ones outside of the UK actually, so tell a lie. I haven't been to everyone, but my favourite one I think is Edinburgh. As a child, that one. I don't know if it's different now. It probably is, I should imagine. But I remember going very young, and there's a part of it called the Cave of Sawney Bean, which is based on the real cannibal family that lived in the Highlands of Scotland.
Oh, good.
And the actors in the complete darkness are up in your face, screaming in your ears, and making you feel incredibly intimidated. I was probably about 13, 14. I felt that I was going to be eaten, especially being a chubby 13-year-old.
And that's where Joe's scare-seeking story began. And I'd say for me, probably York's my favourite one. I've only done it twice. I did it once on a day one, then once I did a dungeon late, which is with a hen party group as well, which is a bit awkward. But it was a really fun dungeon. I think. Just really solid one. To be honest, like the acting was great, sets are pretty good. I love the finale that they've got there now as well with the highwayman carriage bit. York Dungeon.
Blair is a bit biased though. She says She loves it because she's Scottish.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it. And also in Edinburgh, you have all the actors that are regularly doing the Edinburgh Fringe festivals, I should imagine, that want to get some work. So you have a very high quality of actor in Edinburgh. So, yeah, weirdly, though, I think the York in England, the York Dungeon actually has probably the best acting chops of them, I would say.
Yep.
I don't know how good the acting was in the one. I think I've only done Warwick Castle and Alton Towers, but Warwick Castle felt a bit better because you were kind of going through a castle. It wasn't all completely fake.
It's truly immersive.
Instead of an old Charlie and the Chocolate Factory ride, which has just become traumatizing now.
Well, Matt from Breaking Trousers says his scare puts the others to shame. But
Yeah, he made his own scare mace, didn't he?
But to be honest,
the first thing I asked him was how much was the insurance on that?
He had the little reader and he went to the chained out.
Oh, the EMP or the EVP? I don't. I've got that wrong somewhere. EMF maybe.
And he took it to the chained oak, and he got quite good fines on that one. So yeah.
Would you, if you got one of those, I don't know what it's called now. I get the letters wrong.
No, I don't. No, I've got a. I've literally just used a dictaphone just to record because I'm such a novice. I'm by no means a scare expert, not scare expert, a ghost expert. But yeah, I'm certainly obsessed by it now. I must admit a little bit. After my experience After Dark in Bodmin Jail, which is episode 4, I believe. But
yeah, episode 4.
I've got the link. The link.
So many things were unexplainable, and I think it was quite healthy to question myself after that experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did start to wind down? Did either of you want to plug or mention anything?
I do have a YouTube channel, but I've got videos that I'm editing at the moment from last Friday night. So I've got quite a heavy backlog, but hopefully because I've been doing uni work recently. So hopefully now I should be able to get back into the editing of that. But yeah, I've got a channel called Dark Shadow on YouTube, 50 subscribers. So you probably won't be able to find it. But if you can subscribe. That's fine.
I'm finding out.
I didn't know about that. You only told me the Scare Seekers one, but I'll have to put it in the description for the.
Sorry, I was just being as purely self-promotion. Two tosses about what James was doing.
To be fair, like the channel is, just I've got such a backlog of stuff. So yeah, eventually everything will come out. But yeah,
Dark Shadow.
And also, it's got no profile picture as well. It's just like the Google Plus one, so that's going to make it even harder to find.
Yeah. I will have a look later. Actually, because now there's the film Dark Shadows coming up. So I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
Is there anything Joe wants to plug to the audience?
Well, all it really is for me is Scare Seekers. So yeah, on Twitter it's the Scare Seekers. On Instagram, obviously, as you can see, it's Scare Seekers. And the YouTube channel, which is very basic, is only got a few videos on there. But yeah, it's all there. But yeah, if you want to find the podcast, which is where we the podcast is kind of where I put most of my passions. So I highly recommend giving it a go. It should be a bit of fun. And yeah.
And I'll put the podcast link in there as well.
Awesome.
Wicked.
And I'm going to quickly plug next week. We did February SA in February, and I had like 3 or so weeks of different American guests on. And next week we're starting US May, and we're having a few more weeks of US guests starting next week when we're going to have.
Who are we going to have? I don't know.
The numbers. I want to get the numbers right. I think it's Surfer Girl 326, and it's Bloom and Cheeser, and they do a lot of. Videos on Disneyland specifically and Disney, and they do a lot of pin collecting, a lot of Disney pin collecting. But they'll be on talking about that. I had some fun talking to them earlier in the week about Eurovision. They had no idea what it was, obviously.
Same.
I don't think we know what it really is, to be honest with you.
I tried to avoid it as much as possible, but yeah.
And on Monday, I'm going to plug 7 p.m. Attractions Ultimatum. We're the 4th quarterfinal. Darren Brown's Ghost Train versus Ramsey's Revenge. If you want to try and convince the panel which one to vote for, I'm going to quickly show the bracket.
Join it in the discussion in the chat.
For anyone who didn't see it Monday, Slammer actually beat Pirates Adventure to go through to the semi-final. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Even though we didn't talk quite highly of it, but
yeah, a whole video. If you didn't see it, was everyone slating it, and then James, I think, from Trek and Taylor's put the final nail in the coffin for Pirate Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So. But that's the rest of the bracket anyway, and that's happening Monday at 7. But I think I've plugged everything I want to plug. Is there anything else you'd like to promote, James?
No, I'd just like to thank very much Stacey's
thanks.
enthusiasm and Mike's kindness as well, inviting us on. Thank you so much for that.
Fun. I think
Thank you.
there's a lot more to talk about, but I know you want to go and
Look,
watch
we'd love-
Eurovision.
No. We'd love to have you on again,
Semi-final one.
honestly.
Yeah,
'cause
Yeah, you
we
put
like
so much
this
effort
sort of-
into it, and yeah, we really
I know
appreciate
scare
that.
attractions are going to be busy, but like even like after that time, we could always join up again and discuss
Yeah.
it, or just before.
That's the channel. He's commented
Yeah,
below.
That is me.
Go to
Yeah.
it. I'm going to ask a question. I don't know what the answer is going to be.
What was the answer?
I don't know.
In fact, I actually have one thing. My
Okay.
photography challenge.
Yeah.
The next one for this month is May, and I think it's metal. So obviously, if you want to take part in our Love to Explore
Is that
photograph
metal as in
challenge,
the?
it can be anything what you interpret, as long as
Is it
the
metal as in
photograph has
testing your metal, or metal as in what stuff made out of metal?
I don't know, however you
Ghost.
interpret it, but it has
Or
to
the
be a
band
photograph of
Ghost.
metal. So you just tag us in. It's just a bit of mindfulness photography, because that's how I started my Instagram profile. So
And
you're quite
also-
welcome to join in that too.
Also, Coaster Gen and Family Worldwide Family Adventures. Everything's linked down below. If you've seen people in this video today, everything's linked down below. But I'm going to ask Joe and James this, and one of them can tell me if they know. Do you know what our catchphrase is?
No,
Yes.
James knows it.
what is it?
Yeah, because I said that very convincingly. Yeah. Bye.
Do you want to
That's
say
a good catchphrase.
So we'll see you,
in the review?
because for now,
We're gone.
bye.